Hello, wonderful universe. It's Jennifer here at Eureka Astrology and Healing, and today we are going to be talking about the Leo new moon. The Leo new moon is on July 28th, 2022, and it's going to be at 12:55 Central Standard Time. So adjust your time accordingly if you are going to be doing any new moon rituals or just want to experience it in the moment. And so this new moon is a joyous new moon. We'll be talking about the aspects in a minute, but overall, I want people hopefully to walk away with this video with a sense of joy, childlike wonder, self-expression, and spreading the joy. This is the sun's time to shine, right? There is nothing stopping it here. It's in its full power, its full glory, and at the core of this, that's what it's going to be all about. And we'll get a little into the dynamics here, and I wanted to bring up the name that Raven Kaldare has for this moon in the Moon Phase Astrology book. I really like it. It's the Sun Child Moon, and the way he describes it's really beautiful. It's the child who has charisma and talent and is out there and putting their skills out there and not second guessing themselves and just enjoying sharing their joy and their talents and their gifts, and it just is infectious. That is it at its most positive. Right? So if there's anything you can do that day, get out there and express yourself or spread the joy. And what is that for you? It can be your own unique thing, but it is a day to just feel good and shine, right? Like the sun full force today, the sun is out, the birds are singing, everything is happy here right now. We're still in Cancer, but you know, when the sun is out and it's not too hot, right? And we could talk about what that is in a moment here too. It feels great. But what happens when that sun gets too hot, right? When that Leo shines just a little bit too hard? Well, this is going to be the harder part of this day and the 2 weeks leading up into the Aquarius moon. So it's starting the pace right for these 2 weeks. And so we're shining bright, shining our light, feeling good. If we go to an excess, right? Like you always want to be in balance. You don't want to be in a deficiency or an excess of any energy, of any planetary energy or cosmic energy. And so with this, it burns bright and hard. And what does that look like to a lot of people or things around them, especially with the sun? It's like, you're being selfish. You're being self-centered. You know, just like calm it down, right? Like that charm and charisma goes a long way until it becomes not cute anymore. So in this new moon and the 2 weeks following, I would say try to work with having empathy still for others and still being able to tune in with others. Also not demanding or acting like it is your right to be almost like worshipped, right? Like the Leo is the king and the queen or royalty, and it is great to have that royal feeling, but sometimes royalty can be a little too demanding. And I apologize for any signs or anything. I'm out here in my beautiful garden, but I do live in a city. There it goes. So what can you do? Spread the joy, but still be aware of other people. And also that you can't spread joy without others. And so everyone has a place and a role, and not to put yourself above them, but still be confident in who you are. Let's talk about some of the aspects and the weather. There's a lot going on. It's building into things. I feel like there is going to be a lot more dynamic things going on in August, and so hopefully this new moon is the energy that I've been talking about, the more positive things, the joyful things. And you know, if you're starting to get inklings of some of the aspects coming up in the next month, for sure to take note, be aware and work with it, and be open to working with it before things snap. Let's put it that way. We'll talk a little bit more about that. So the first thing I wanted to say is there's a stellium in Leo. So we just talked about the new moon, right? The sun and the moon are going to be in Leo. Mercury is going to be in Leo, and also Ceres is going to be there. It's an asteroid, but I still think it's important, right? We need to shine our light. Emotionally, we need to express ourselves. We're thinking about our awesomeness, right? And how we can express and create and lead. And then Ceres, nurture. How do we nurture our self-expression? How do we nurture others? So again, this is going to be, I feel like, the most uplifting part of the new moon, and as well as the next 2 weeks moving forward. And then there's a nice positive aspect to the new moon, and that's Jupiter in Aries. What's a little bit interesting is, so Jupiter in Aries is also a very outgoing, dynamic, asking for what it wants, knowing what it needs to be, to survive, and it comes to the challenge. Sometimes it might be seeking challenges a little more than it needs to in this case, but it's going out there and it's confident. However, the same day, about 3 hours later, it goes retrograde. So it's really moving slow. So that forward outward dynamic, it's making a trine to the new moon, is going to start to go inward, and it really amplifies Jupiter's energy, right? So, you know, it's going to be even more intense. But what I feel and see in the chart here, and it's a positive aspect, is that people might be turning inward and really evaluating their expression and their joy, and maybe going, you know, what do I need? And maybe even in childhood, you know, Aries doesn't represent childhood totally, but it can represent young and youth. Where maybe did I get wounded that I stopped expressing myself? Or when did I get told? Because this sun, child, moon is about being so joyful and creative, and either with, if they're Leo, just not hearing people's criticisms, or before the point of criticism happened in their life to their self-expression. So there might be some internalization of, okay, this might have happened, but what do I really need? And is this really true? And then like really getting at the core of self, instinctually and will. It's really a beautiful thing, and it's a good time for that. Also, Chiron is in Aries too, so that's the wound, and the collective is feeling it again. Like, did I not ask for my needs? Am I not being seen or heard? Or getting anything here? And so sometimes we feel like we're in a fight for what we need. But if with Leo, the Mercury, it's trining Mercury and Leo, is that we kind of are like, yeah, I know my center and my core, and I know my light, and I'm going to shine it bright. And so it's almost like remedying that Chiron a little bit, like, oh yeah, this can take me to where I need to go. This can take me to what I need. So it can be a really beautiful thing. But I do feel like, and I shouldn't say but, however, right, there's always dynamic energies happening, some for the positive and some for opportunities for growth. That is, I think, a good way to say it, because really what our attention's in the chart, but opportunities for growth and change where change is needed, right? Leo is a fixed sign, so Leo likes to sit and be stubborn a little bit, especially if you got the new moon. It's like, no, I know who I am. I'm not changing that whatsoever. Don't you tell me what I am and am not. And normally this is important. We need this core point, but sometimes, you know, we change. Sometimes things around us change, and it's important to kind of pay attention to that. And the longer story is, as everyone's been talking about, you know, Taurus, right? The energy's in Taurus, and so Uranus has been there for a few years, and it's just a little over halfway through. And there is energies building up to something that's going to be happening in August. And I think we're going to be feeling this pressure. And what it is you've got the North Node, then you've got Uranus a few degrees away, and then Mars a few degrees away. And they're getting really close. I mean, the North Node and Uranus are 1 degree apart. Mars is 4 degrees away on this day, and so you might start to feel some tensions. And what did I have here written down? On one hand, we're feeling this conference of self-expression. We are light warriors, we are spreading the light and joy, but this aspect is squaring the Mercury. Like, yeah, of course I know, and you know, I know my self-expression, but this is undermining. It's like, well, do you really have the things you need to express yourself joyously? Like, do you have the food you need? Do you really know your own value, the value of these gifts you have? And so it's might lead to a little bit of undermining of that confidence, but it's also asking us to assess that, like, what do you need to express yourself? Do you have the resources? Do you know, here's an example. If you're going to be a rock star and you want to have a band, do you have the bandmates? Do you have the instruments? Do you have the van or whatever to move your materials? Do you have, do you have the clothes to wear? Do you have the food to eat? What do you need to express yourself on a physical level? And since it's Uranus and Mars, it's like lightning striking and a cleaver hacking. It is saying some things might be cut, some things need to change. That's it, period. And so you might be feeling these tensions. If they're kind of bubbling up, then you're like, oh, trying to resist them, especially because those are two fixed signs. I say don't resist them. Let it be changed. And so a good example is a guitar string getting worn out. And as the guitar player is playing, hopefully they can tell before it's going to snap. And ideally, this is, let's change the string before it snaps, right? You feel the tension or the wear. it's not working anymore. The sound's not good. Change the string, because the string's going to snap eventually and it might smack you in the face. Maybe not, but think about those things that are coming up, especially with personal value of self and your resources. And this is a collective thing, right? The North Node is there too. It's not just the fixed signs feeling this. It is globally, collectively, we are being asked to change things. And I'm sure most people are aware right now where our economy is at, and global resources and the fluctuation of prices on almost everything, and especially food, and also the food supply and demand. And it's getting real, and it's time for us to do something different, right? And what do we value, and what are our skills to help change that? We can bring that out, and I think it can be a great thing. To deepen it though, in this square, we've got Saturn. It's a little further away, it's Saturn Aquarius. And so, like I said, we're working with our self-value and our self-expression, and all of a sudden we have Saturn going, hey, you might need to cut back. This is something like you're gonna shine, but maybe not as long as you'd like. Or maybe you need to think about the other people around you and let them shine too. Or maybe saying you need to cut back on your food or whatever you're doing for a little bit, because it's for the greater good. It's for the collective, right? We were talking about food. We are all affected by this now. And Saturn is saying, hey, we need to figure this out. It's also, when we talk about individualization, it's telling us too, it's internalizing because it's retrograde. Where are you being accountable for your individuality? And so making sure you shine that out, and also making sure you know that self-worth. So I feel like that's actually a positive aspect, but I think people are going to be assessing this at this time. I also think the outlet point here, because sometimes when things are making tension and there is an outlet point, is the South Node. And the South Node is where we've come from and what we're trying to move away from as a collective, in evolutionary astrology. And so it's in Scorpio, and that's all that's there. It's not surrounded by a bunch of other planets. And so one could say it's not as strong, and so it's kind of an opening for all this tension. And so what I could see is, on a positive note, people could dig deep and find out, oh, where was that scar, that wound that undermined my individuality, my resources, and my self-worth? And then get it out, process it, purge it. That is on its most positive note. You can do that, or if that's something that you're working with right now, it's a great time, because you'll find it, you'll see it in these other areas. The darker part is if you're a little afraid of losing your resources, if that you find power in that, or you're afraid to shine your individuality or give up your self-expression for the collective, right? If you can't find that balance, there might be power and manipulation happening for you, for others. So if you start to see themes of power and manipulation coming up, or people's toxic energies coming out and them not managing it, or yours, work with it. This is a great time to do so. Do it in a loving way, because we're being asked to change some things, especially around our value, for sure. And then there's also some positive aspects. Venus is in Cancer, and it is trining Mars and Taurus. And for me, I see this as, again, like Mars is in Taurus, talking about, resources, and it's slowed down, and it isn't like that necessarily, but it's like, hey, I see this as getting in the garden, doing some weeding, because your garden's in your home, it's in your community potentially, and then cook some good food and be with family and friends. I think this is a great remedy to maybe some of the tensions. Is like, what do I really value? Oh, just those great simple connections that are deep and nourishing, food that's nourishing. Try to make it, like some more wholesome food, or like have some vegetables or things that are coming out of your garden potentially. If you have a garden, or go to the grocery store, but like honor that and go, oh, I do see the abundance in my life, and it's not always materials. Sometimes it's relationships, connections, whether it's a born family or, family joined through, the beauties and connections that we have. We also have another positive aspect. Pluto is in Capricorn, and it is sextiling Neptune in Pisces. So that's, again, like getting rid of old structures and a dream coming in. And again, I don't know, they're both retrograde that we're going to know the dream exactly or start to rebuild yet, but there's a dream coming up of a better world, a better foundation, and it can be better. We just need to have our confidence, but also think about other people. With that, I'm Jennifer at Eureka Astrology and Healing. If you made it this far, thanks for going through all the sounds of the city and the cicadas and nature. It is definitely noisy here. but also joyful here, and I am grateful for that. If you like what I'm doing, hit like, subscribe, check out my website, EurekaAstrologyandHealing.com, where I do astrology consultations. I also do little consultations and tarot consultations. May the stars guide you and the plants ground you. Ciao for now.